As stated earlier, the aim of the Bendigo Community Health Program is to provide effective healthcare services and support to priority populations. The program funds general counselling, allied health, nursing services that aim to maximise health and well-being and also to slow the progression of disease. The program provides support and services that are high quality, affordable and delivered in a flexible way that responds to the needs of the people and the community. This community health program prioritises access for populations that have that experience poorer overall health outcomes, have barriers to accessing adequate healthcare, that are economically or socially disadvantaged, and people with complex care needs. And this is where refugees and asylum seekers are an evident priority population group that are being prioritised and targeted throughout Bendigo Community Health Service provision. So refugee is the term broadly given to individuals who have suffered persecution or have a fear of suffering persecution in their country of origin, and so they're aiming to get a refugee status to stay here in Australia. Asylum seekers, they've generally entered Australia by plane with valid visa or by boat with invalid visa, and that's to sought protection in Australia. So asylum seekers generally reside in the community on bridging visas. However, that's not always what happens. So for refugees and asylum seekers accessing the service at BCHS, more specifically counselling, there are multiple key issues presented. So these include health concerns, which are around there's differing health issues in comparison to other Australians. A higher level of healthcare is available here in Australia in comparison to countries of origin. That's not in all instances, but it is evident. And so that includes like poor health literacy, leading to lack of preventative measures being utilised. So, for example, immunisations against disease. Secondly, language barriers, so lack of comprehension of the English language, but also possible lack of literacy in their own language, which then causes difficulties learning English. So that's really evident. Employment and schooling, so gaining employment, there's often restrictions in relation to having to work in unskilled employment in Australia. So this due to qualifications not being recognised by Australian government. So this might mean that individuals they might have worked as a healthcare professional in the country of origin, but now when they come to Australia they have to work as a cleaner or in an unskilled profession in the resettlement period in Australia. Also, racism and discrimination are still very evident. So there's a high level of resettlement in Bendigo, with a rather large community of the Karen race. So that's in Bendigo. So it's still evident, obviously, the racism issue with the mosque debate. So I'll go into that a little bit later on about the prevalence of racism. But for now, another issue presented by refugees and asylum seekers is the familiarity with Australian culture. So, for example, road safety or road rules, applying for and receiving loans, renting houses, which of course is dependent on country of origin. They may have experience with this, but this is generally some of the issues that they need assistance with.